Hey everyone, before we start the show, I just want to get some plugs out of the way. If you enjoy this podcast and you're into wrestling, check out the Nerds and Marks podcast or Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling. If you're not getting your fill on movie and entertainment discussion, then check out the Entertainment Buffet podcast. If you want to dive into the world of video games, I highly recommend the Darkcast by my friends over at darkstation.com. Listen to them cover important topics and interview men and women from all over the industry. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome to Shelved. I am your host, Jeremy Meyer. Now I just want to apologize for not having an episode on Friday. When I started this podcast, one of the things I wanted to be was consistent. And unfortunately, I'm not even going to make an excuse. I've just been a little lazy. I have been trying to put together a bunch of guests for upcoming episodes. And I should have started sooner. I never knew when work was going to kind of slow down in my day job. And I wanted to be able to have episodes ready for then. And unfortunately, I just kind of started a little too late trying to get people together. And now it's kind of coming back to bite me in the ass. I was hoping to get the Star Wars commentary out for this week, but that's not going to happen. I have talked to my wife, and we are for sure going to have that one for next week. So next week's episode will 100% be our commentary track for The Return of the Jedi, and that'll be her finishing out Star Wars. She's starting school, so if we do decide to do the prequels, I don't think it'll be anytime soon, because she's going to be, all wrapped up in school and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as this week, not quite sure what's going to happen on Friday. I have some ideas of what I want to do. Even if I'm going to be covering a script by myself, there will be an episode. I do have a script that I've been wanting to cover for a while. And no one seems to want to do it, so that one I might just do by myself. So that. At least that on Friday. I would like to pull in a guest for something. This last Friday that I missed, I was actually planning on doing one of the movie pitch episodes, but the guest that I had chosen, unfortunately, I forgot he was flying over to the UK. So, I kind of fucked that one up, and I apologize. That's on me. So yeah, this week we'll figure it out. We'll either have a pitch episode with a different guest, or I will cover a script by myself. Which that script, if I do cover it, I believe it's called Dark Falls or Great Falls, something. I have it here saved. I can look that up. But there are a few scripts that are handed out. There is one guest that is picking scripts right now. So hopefully in the coming weeks we will be able to get that nailed down. We are also working on bringing on Brandon Prosick to do a post-mortem on his play, How Does That Make You Feel?, which was really great. It played over the last few weeks in Chicago, and I went and saw it, and I had a blast. It was hilarious, and it was awesome. But yeah, we're going to have him on at some point, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. What else? So I guess for this week, I only saw one movie that I suppose I could review. It's kind of an older one, came out in 2014, but I saw Pompeii, which is not a very good movie. I gave it a 2 out of 5 because so this movie was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who for me is a director that leaves me very conflicted because he has done some stuff I really like. And he's also made some of the worst movies I've ever seen, mostly all of the Resident Evil movies. They're all pretty bad. But I've always wanted to like him because of those movies that he has done that I really like, and that would be Event Horizon, the Mortal Kombat movie, and one called Soldier, which I don't know if a lot of people have seen, but I really like that movie. Haven't seen it in a while. Maybe it doesn't hold up, but I always really like that one, so I'd like to give it another watch. But yeah, so those are like, he's one of those directors like, man, I really want to like this guy, and he's clearly getting better. Like I watch Pompeii, and it's actually really well directed. There's no stupid Matrix action, which has been a big problem for him ever since he saw The Matrix. That's kind of what all of his movies became. But yeah, I was enjoying it for a little bit, and then it just kind of turned into bullshit. And then the whole movie you watch basically for the last 30 minutes, which is like, up until that point, it's just a Gladiator ripoff. It stars Kit Harington from Game of Thrones, and I think he's actually really good in it. But overall, it's just kind of boring for a while, and then it's when the volcano erupts that's when it's like, okay, now we're getting into it. But yeah, honestly, you watch it for those 30 minutes, and that's really all you need. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I really wouldn't recommend it to anybody. And I doubt anybody at this point who hasn't seen it is going to go back and be like, "Ooh, Pompeii, what's this about?" But yeah, it's, if you were one of those crazy people that even had that idea, don't. It's not great. Just watch Gladiator if you want to watch a movie like that. Like, if you're really in the mood for like a sword and sandals movie, which I don't know how many people are at this point, you could do much worse. But yeah, that's kind of all I got for this one. Yeah, I watched a couple movies a week back. I don't know if I talked about any of them. So I'm not going to go, just in case I did, I'm not going to go super in depth on them, but I will just kind of cover them, some quick thoughts, and my review score. But one of them is Resident Evil Vendetta, which is the new CGI Resident Evil movie, which the CGI Resident Evil movies, they're way better than any actual Resident Evil movie that's ever been made, like the live action ones. But it's good, but it's kind of fucking ridiculous. Really heavy on the action and not so much on the horror, which is pretty much par for the course for Resident Evil nowadays, outside of Resident Evil 7. But I enjoyed it. I heard some people like kind of not enjoying this one, and I totally get it. It's not amazing, but it's still, out of the 3 CG movies they have done, I'd put it in the middle. Damnation is still the best one, because it's got a good story. It brings back the characters you love, and so does this one, but that one handles them better. And the first one is honestly just kind of boring. It's a good movie as far as Resident Evil goes, but it drags, and it takes a while for the action to kick in and for that one to get good. But Resident Evil Vendetta, it's totally solid. It gets a little ridiculous. This time they bring in the gore pretty heavy, which they didn't do in the previous ones. Like, there was a little bit of gore in the second one, but it was like kind of those situations where they would just cut away. So Resident Evil Vendetta goes heavy on that stuff. So that alone makes it a little more enjoyable. So the other movie I saw is I rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy 2, because that is not out on Blu-ray. Or now out on Blu-ray, sorry. And it was great. I loved it more than I did the first time I saw it. Whereas the first time I saw it, I was like, yeah, I'd put this on par with the first one, but like slightly below. And the second time I watched it, I was like, no, this is like just as good as the first one, just in a different way. It does have some issues of like, oh, in the first one we saw them all come together, and now they're all fighting again, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it's got a lot of good themes and stuff with like family, and it's really great. And it's one of those movies you get so much more out of it the second time around. So if you saw Guardians 2 and you loved it, I highly recommend watching it again, because it's just really great. And then so the last movie I saw, which is one I've been wanting to watch for a while, and I bought it a while back just because I wanted to have more horror movies in my catalog and just hadn't gotten around to it, was It Follows. And It Follows was really good. It's like just shy of being like amazing, But for one, the music is incredible. It's a throwback to like 80s synth music. And honestly, you could just pick up the soundtrack and listen to that and you'll fucking love it. But the soundtrack is really great. But the movie's awesome. Like, it's everybody kind of makes fun of it as like, oh, it's that STD horror movie, but it works really well, and it manages to make someone just walking towards you like scary as fuck. So I highly recommend It Follows. Definitely go in with a little bit of knowledge, like at least watch the trailer. But it's a really great movie. The end is kind of where it falls apart a little bit for me. Just their plan to try to get rid of the thing is, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't see how they connect A to B, but you kind of write it off as like, okay, like these are kids. They don't really know what to do. So this is, this would work. This is what they're like, hey, let's just try this and see what happens. The only other thing is I wish they were a little more clear on the rules of the creature in the movie. Like I said, it's really good, but it's just like there's a couple things where it's like, oh, I don't know, like this seems odd, or I don't understand how we connect this point to this point and stuff like that. But it's super great, and I highly recommend it. One of the better horror movies I've seen in a long time. So those are kind of all the movies I've seen recently. And again, sorry, I'm not sure what we're going to have on Friday, but I am going to try to get something up. Whether it's just a discussion piece, whether it's a really in-depth movie review, whether it's me covering a script by myself, we will have something. I just, all I've wanted is to have this podcast, and now that I do, and like I missed an episode, and I hate that. And I want to do better, so I'm going to try to do better, and that's what you can expect from me from now on. But that's going to be it for today's mini episode. It's another short one, and I apologize. I just want to say Toby Hooper, he passed away, and he, director of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's one of the greatest horror movies ever made. So maybe take a watch of that coming up. But also everyone in Texas. I have some friends down in Texas, some that listen to the podcast. Just everyone, stay safe. Hope everything's going well on your end due to the hurricane and everything. I hope everyone's okay. Me and my wife donated to the Red Cross. If you got some extra time or money, you can text to the Red Cross at 90999, I believe it was. And yeah, you can just donate $10, and even if you don't have a lot of, it just adds onto your phone bill. So if you don't have a lot of money right now, you can still do that. And I recommend doing that. Yeah, just help out however you can. Sorry, I didn't really want to sound like so non-committal on that. I'm sorry. It's early. I'm tired. I'm still reaming from Game of Thrones, which I'm not going to talk about Game of Thrones finale on this episode. I might do a whole season review on next week's mini episode. Just know that I really like the season. I really like the episode. I thought it was really great. I'm super excited for the final season, even though it's fucking 2 years off at this point, and I hate waiting. But all right, everybody, that's going to be it for today's mini episode. Be sure to contact us on the social medias at Shelved Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and send us an email at shelvedfilmpodcast@gmail.com. And why don't you, while you're on it, you're listening on your phone, just pick up your phone, go to your podcast, type in Shelved, find us in the store, and leave us a review. It's really easy. You can just hit the review button. Haven't gotten any new reviews for a while. We're still sitting at 5 stars, though, so I really appreciate that for everybody who has left a review. Let me just do a real quick check, see if we got a new one. I don't believe I haven't checked in a while. Nope, still sitting at just 13, so come on, leave us a review, guys. If you're listening to the show, I know we got more than 13 listeners. It takes a second. You don't even have to leave a review. You can just go and hit the 5 stars, and that's all you really need. That's all we would appreciate. But yeah, just why don't you go do that? We'd appreciate it. But all right, thanks everybody for listening, and 100% we will have an episode on Friday. I don't care what it's going to be. I'm going to get it done, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But thank you all for listening, and be sure to check back on Friday.